All right, this is Jason Kilby of the Hardwater Fishing Show. I'm here with my brother-in-law, Steve. Say hi, Steve.
Hello.
So Steve and I, at the beginning of the season, purchased the identical shacks. I have done exactly nothing with mine except fish in it. Steve is not fishing his, but rather has spent the entire season modifying it so it's ready for next year. And boy, are you guys in for a treat. So he's going to do a walkthrough of this shack. It's really an amazing thing. I'm jealous. I'm going to try to switch mine into his garage and see potentially if mine turns out the same way as his by the end of next year. So we're going to flip the camera around and Steve's going to walk us through this outstanding shack. And this is a Clam Kenai Pro, yeah. And it's the blackout edition, or it's the stealth edition. So it's black in color. So, all right, Steve, where do you want to start?
So basically what we're doing is we're looking at the shack as you would see it if you're taking it out of your vehicle and you're getting ready to go out onto the ice.
Okay.
So it's all fully loaded and everything. I'm going to kind of take a couple things out so it's easier for you to see what's going on here. So I'm going to take the auger and the pistol bit out of here first, set it aside out of the way. So the first thing we have is obviously the clam tray, and we've made a couple modifications to this. We've added a couple rod holder here that I found designed for on the internet. It's a swivel rod holder. A couple different baits.
And that's 3D printed, Steve?
This is 3D printed, yeah.
Okay.
So I got a mount for it there. I can move it to the middle in between my legs there, and then I put another one over on the other side there. Okay. But the other thing that this does for us is this particular shack came with the Clam light bar inside, which we'll show you a little bit later here when we actually close it up. But I added some power to this thing. So right now, and Jason, if you want to come around to the other side here, so you can kind of see underneath this
Which
tray.
way? Which way am I going? I'm spinning.
Underneath the tray there.
There we go.
So they make these things that take a DeWalt battery and convert it from a 20 volt DeWalt battery down to 12 volts, so you can power things like like little kid toys and whatnot. So we've got that down there. We've got a little fuse block right here to where we're running off of a couple different things. One for the light, one for auxiliary power posts up here on the clam tray. If you ever needed to plug anything in or anything like that, you could do that. And then the clam light bar just plugs right into there.
There's an adapter on the end of that, right,
Yeah,
to make it compatible?
Right. This little adapter did not come with the clam setup.
Okay.
So anyway, that plugs into there like that. Runs off of a DeWalt battery. You could either use a regular, like what I have here is a 5 amp hour battery, or you could use the flex volt batteries, the large ones, and get more amp hours out of it.
And they make these connectors for Milwaukee and whatever your color tool of choice is.
They do, yep.
Cool.
Okay, so next to that then you'll see we've got our...
I'm going to spin around here.
Yep. Pull the tarp out of the way here. We've got our ice scoop, and that's just held in there by a couple clips. Find those at your local hardware store. And then obviously a spot for your little scoop there. So now when we kind of rotate around here, I've got the golf cart heater here. And this design, I never came up with this whole design all on my own. I found another guy on YouTube that did a modification very similar to this. We just made a couple changes off of his design. My cousin and I, we actually did both of them because he's got another shack just like this. So, but anyway, the golf cart heater.
I didn't get a call on this. Like when you guys were doing this clam
modification. So far away.
There's no. I checked my messages. There was nothing. All right. Anyway, go on.
This other guy though, his design, he had the heater back behind the chair, and we thought, well, gosh, that's kind of neat because you don't have to mess around with that and getting it in and out of the shack all the time when you're moving and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Setting it in front of you all the time and then letting it cool down before you set it back in the shack. So this gives it a dedicated place where it just lives there your whole outing. We have a computer cooling fan built into this little hatch here. So we got a little storage hatch for extra propane bottles and whatnot, whatever you want to put in there. But then a little cooling fan to help move that air up so that you don't get too close to the back of your seat.
Because you don't want to catch on fire.
Yeah, you don't want to melt.
No, you just don't.
You don't want to melt. So,
So there was something else when you pulled that heater out. Can you pull that heater out again?
oh yeah.
There's something in there that
Yeah, this
what
is
do you got
another
going there?
This is another item. Basically, it looks like a top hat. It was a 3D printed thing that I made just to keep so that when this sits down inside of here, it doesn't teeter back and forth and tip over. So it sits nice and flat.
Perfect. Okay.
Then moving on to this side, we can pull this away. We've got a little tackle tray that I found at Bass Pro Shops. So it's actually made for putting into an ice shack. We only found one sitting there. I didn't even, it had a price tag on it, but I didn't find a place on the shelf where it was even at. It's kind of one of those finds that you kind of get lucky on, I guess.
Yeah, it's even got a cup holder for it.
Yeah, it's got a cup holder built into it. So I had to put a piece of this plastic along the back side because of the ribs in the framework of the tub here to get it to work.
So the same type as this plastic.
Yep, the same.
Where'd you find that plastic?
So this is HDPE, high density polyethylene, I believe, and this is the 1/4 inch thickness, and you can find that at your big box store.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
You know that stuff was around.
So then the Clam rod holder, which is really, really handy in this orientation, along with some other rod holders that I found online for 3D printing. So we made those up, and then it's got little foam inserts, which you just cut out and stick in there to support the tips.
Okay.
Okay. You can still slide back and forth on the seat there. Underneath here, I also have a clip. Well, let's just.
Should we do the chair reveal on the chair here?
A
Look
little
at this.
modification on the chair so you can get better access to things.
So you cut.
Yep. Normally they're connected all the way through and they just slide back and forth and that's it. So this is a common modification that people have done so that you can flip that chair up halfway like that.
And now you have a fish bucket.
Yep. So this bucket designed for putting your fish in, right? You got a spot for your fish finder, which
Now-
this is a whole nother thing that that I modified. I took the same power conversion unit for DeWalt battery and converted this over so that it can run off of a lithium battery, my DeWalt batteries.
Okay.
I have tons of those, so why mess around with a lead acid battery or spend big bucks on a lithium battery that's only good for this application when I have a ton of these DeWalt batteries around.
Now, I know we're going to get some questions on this shuttle. So
Yeah,
why don't you
so-
just tell people where they can't buy that at?
Yeah, you can't buy this. This is actually some, what do you call it? Lexan, polycarbonate material.
Okay.
Okay. It's very good to work with. It was some scrap material that I got from my workplace and was able to fabricate this little jobby here.
That's pretty cool.
So we got a little glow cup here that again I 3D printed and then created that. It's got a little proximity sensor on the bottom, so there's a little circuitry involved.
Proximity
with this.
sensor?
Yeah, yeah. So
So
you
what does that
basically-
mean for people
when
like
I-
me that aren't electronics educated?
When I turn this guy on back here, it energizes this whole cup. And there's a built-in timer associated with that. So it'll time
You
off.
guys
and
can't
it'll
see my.
shut-
I'm just shaking my head at this guy.
it'll-
Okay, go
it'll
on.
shut off after 15 seconds. But if you drop a jig in here, it's going to sense the hook, the metal on the jig, and it's
Okay.
going to automatically turn on again. So when it's sitting out here, you don't have to get up and hit the button to
You
turn
have
it
to
on.
hit the button.
and
You just
it's
dip it in
just
the cup and away it
It's
goes.
a momentary thing that gives you 15 seconds of glow juice.
Okay,
Okay,
gotcha. So that lives in here.
so that lives in here as well. Nice dedicated little place for it. So then we come around here to the minnow bucket. So this is a bait bucket that you can commonly find around any of your bait shops typically. I think they're made mostly to carry like night crawlers in, to be honest with you, but they do make it so that you can carry minnows in it because it is watertight. It's got a nice gasket seal on it and everything. But we made a little modification to it. We got a little thing that I designed on the 3D printer as well. That's a 1 minnow scoop thing.
So I've seen these commercially.
Yeah.
And so for people that don't use these, apparently how these work, and I've seen them work, is the minnow, you put them in your minnow bucket, and the little minnow will swim in that little hole.
Yep, they hide in there.
Yeah.
They find a nice little hiding spot, so when you go to grab it,
Just the minnow's in there.
you got 1 minnow in there now. I've got a slot for a little larger minnows or a smaller two for little smaller minnows. But if you're not catching them with that,
Yeah.
this little insert inside of here.
Now,
a little,
once again, that's not something you can buy.
yep, that is a 3D printed item that fits nice inside.
Steve has
there.
figured out his 3D printer, I think.
Yeah, I've had a little practice with it. A couple little cleats down here to prevent rotation when you're taking the lid on and off.
Yeah, here, pull that out. I want to show people the cleats. So he thinks of about everything here. So those little cleats he made, and those again are 3D printed, or you just
Yeah,
make those?
3D
or
printed.
3D printed.
Yep.
So then the bucket goes in.
Bucket goes in.
And that way you can one hand open the
One hand
bucket.
you can open and close the
You
bucket.
can one hand catch your minnow, and you're off to the races.
There you go.
Holy cow!
So yeah, that's about it for right now.
Is that it?
I do have.
That's all you did.
That's all I
What
do.
about the carpet? You didn't talk
well,
about the carpet.
Yeah, that's just a piece of this plastic that we put carpet over top of in the middle. It's because you have those ribs and
The ribs,
everything. and
okay.
Things tend to get caught in there. It's nice to have just a flat floor in there for stuff. The lighter carpet makes it easier to see things as well, as opposed to the black bottom of the shack.
Okay.
So we can we can flip this over and give
There you go.
everybody an inside view.
All right.
If you want to just turn on the light
Yep.
inside there, Jay.
Yep. So it's dark. It's so dark. How do I turn the light on?
That little blue
Oh, the
button
button.
there.
Hey, there we go. Lights on. Look at that. So there's the light at the top of the bar. And then this is the view inside with the light on. And I'm going to just sit in the chair here for a minute. So you sit in the chair in these. You have plenty of room out front.
Yeah.
He's got his rod holders there, his bait right here. You can reach behind him and grab a fishing pole real easy.
There's a rod right here.
So I'm just reaching behind. All right, here's a fishing rod. So if I had a hole right in front there, I'd be looking at not catching the same amount of fish I'm catching now. Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
And so these clams are nice. They've got there's a hammock thing up here to put your gloves and stuff to help keep them dry, and air vents and windows, and it's blacked out on the inside, which I really like, because then you can, if you're doing some sight fishing, you have that option to look down and see what's going on. All right, Steve, any last words on this shack?
No, nothing really. I think the only other addition that I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a couple battery holders to bring some spare batteries along. I'm going to mount those to the side of the center section there. So.
All right. Well, Steve, thanks for walking us through your shack. Really good effort on your part, and maybe you can even catch some fish with it next year.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right.
You bet.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.